Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. It is My Wife's Unavailable, and I'm your host, the hostess with the mostest, Chelsea Bradley. I realized on a previous episode I said I was going to call myself Coach Chelsea, and I'm still just like, I'm just going to say whatever I say to introduce myself because nothing's really sticking, but I do know my name, so we'll go with that. This is episode 8. I don't know if I already said that yet, but it's episode 8. And I have back with me on feels like a very special occasion because she's back. My lovely wife, Emma.
Hi. Her wife's available today.
She super duper made herself available today. And I just really wanted to have her back. But also, I got some feedback that we didn't learn enough about you last time.
Really?
Yeah. So
was that one particular person?
Yes.
Oh.
That was Mags.
Okay.
She was like, love the episode. And obviously I know who Emma is, but as a listener, I didn't really get to hear about her. And I was like, you know what? I didn't do like my normal intro with you last time.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to have you back.
I was just your arm candy that day.
Yeah. Per the usual. But yeah, so Emma, tell us about yourself. Where you been, who you are, where you're from. I usually say
Ooh.
who you are, where you been.
Oh yeah.
What you doing? I don't know.
Well,
it's not a script.
I like when you asked where you from too, because that gives me like a basis to start from. Like, let's go way back.
Yeah,
no, I'm just
let's
kidding,
go all the way back. We have at least 58 minutes.
I will say I'm from Joyce.
That's her tagline.
Most of y'all don't know where Joyce is, but that would be Joyce, Washington, which is on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. We did touch on that briefly last time.
Yeah, and one thing she really likes to do is if you hold your hand like in a loose fist and your thumb out a little bit and your palm is facing you, that's how she likes to describe the shape of Washington.
Yeah.
And where is the Olympic Peninsula and where's Joyce?
The Olympic Peninsula would be your thumb.
Okay. Because there's the
Joyce,
gap in between your thumb and your fingers, which is the sound.
The sound.
Yeah. Puget sound, that is.
The town of Joyce would be kind of on the tip of your thumb. Really, the peninsula would be kind of fatter, but
the nail tip or the fat tip or the skin tip,
like your fingertip, like not the nail per se. That'd probably be Nia Bay.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, Joyce is on the north coast on the Olympic Peninsula.
The north coast of your fingernail.
Across the water from Victoria, BC, Canada.
Which is a really cute, great little town. I don't know how little it is, but
yeah,
little town to explore.
It is cute, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We took the ferry across from Port Angeles to Victoria when we were there for Christmas last. But yeah, so putting Joyce, Washington on the map. So yeah, I mentioned Port Angeles, so that's the next town over that actually has, a sizable population. Still small, but has a Walmart and stuff like that. Yeah, and grew up out in the sticks, 40 acres in the woods on a hill.
Bucking hay.
And youngest of 8 siblings, so that plays into my life quite a bit, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to play that sibling game, or that birth order game is what it is figuring out where you're at in the birth order and what that means.
Mm-hmm.
My boss does that. She's a therapist too, so that's interesting. I'm waiting for her to assess me.
It does play a pretty big role.
Yeah, water break. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so I'm the baby.
She's the baby.
The number of kids in your family probably makes a big difference too, because 2 siblings versus 7 siblings, yeah. And then I moved away, went to Bellingham, Washington for school, Western Washington University.
WW.
Long story short, in Bellingham, got my degree in community health education. Met Chelsea. We were friends for 3 years. Eventually there was a little extra spark that happened.
Chemistry.
Mm-hmm. And then we started dating. Then we got engaged. Then we moved to Kirkland, Washington. Kirkland. I was thinking Kirkland, Kenmore. My school was in Kenmore, but we actually moved to Redmond, Washington. We're there for a little bit. And then I got my master's in public health. And then we got married in Port Townsend, Washington.
Had two cats.
Had 2 cats. Port Townsend was a gorgeous place to get married, and the wedding was fabulous. Did we talk about the wedding with the rainbows and everybody saying it's the best wedding?
No, not on this
the
podcast.
Spectators and everything.
On Good Day from the USA, I touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous wedding. And then, we moved here. Been here 5 years. I'm a grants administrator for state of Arizona. And so I work in behavioral health, substance use treatment, substance use prevention.
Doing really important work.
Yeah. It's all right. Yeah. No, it is really important work. I kind of got started there with, the public health background and some other volunteer things and paid jobs and just, getting my start there with substance use work.
Mm-hmm.
And, the whole suicide prevention thing in high school that I did and the prevention club stuff that I did. And so it kind of led me here. And everybody sees it. Everybody sees the need. And so that's what the grants are to help for, is try to make sure people can get access to treatment if they can't afford it, if they don't have insurance, et cetera. And also just making sure that we have prevention resources out there.
Yeah.
Across the state and in the areas of highest need.
Yeah. So you've been doing some pretty great work for like a long time, pretty much as long as I've known you, actually. So I think that'd be cool to kind of run through your jobs, like your job timeline. What was your first job? Then bring us to current.
Because I actually did mean to mention the caregiving gig, because that was a long-term thing that I did. So
Spoiler
that's pretty well
alert.
ingrained. Yeah. Well, my first job, I think it was at Cafe Garden, this little restaurant in Port Angeles. I sometimes forget if I had that one first. I was a dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I had the Saturday Night Live at the YMCA job first. And I think it was Cafe Garden. But yeah, and then the SNL YMCA thing, that was really like on Saturdays, they would close down the gym to the general public, and instead they would only hold it for teens.
Aww.
And like middle school, I think, was the age group.
That's fun.
And I was like a staff monitor person. So like I would let kids in, make sure we knew who was there. I would DJ. I would walk around, make sure kids weren't, doing things they weren't supposed to do in the pickleball court or whatever.
Is that where you get your beatboxing skills from?
No, where do I get that? I don't know. No, but this is where I started my love for cheesy bread at Domino's, because we would order Domino's pizza for the kids, and so we would supply it, but we would only supply the pizza, and then a lot of kids would like chip in $5 to order their own cheesy bread, and so sometimes we would do that.
I'll have to get you some next time you're on.
Yeah, we actually just did have a little splurge night where we ordered pizza, and I got cheesy bread.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we just did that.
Well, what? Wait,
it was just,
where did we order from? Was it Domino's?
Domino's.
Oh,
specifically.
For some
Domino's
reason, I
cheesy bread.
always think of Little Caesars and their cheesy bread. Not anywhere.
Crazy
like when
bread?
I think of their cheesy bread. It started off with crazy bread.
Oh, did it?
That stuff was good. Man, back in the day when you could eat like a whole pack by yourself and it didn't even affect you, man. Now it's moment on the lips, lifetime on the hips.
Man, there's so many things that you can insert after the phrase when everything happens when you're 30, That's not the phrase. But, you know, it's all good until you hit 30s. And then, yeah, you can't do things like eat a whole thing of cheesy bread.
Yeah. I mean, I never did it too often, but it was usually like in high school or college days when I was super busy, always doing like school stuff, sports, work. And then, you know, the to-go fast food kind of food would happen, or even gatherings, like way more like sporting events and stuff, and people would bring whatever, and that's when I would eat a lot of that stuff. But
yeah, lots of active social activities back in those days.
Yeah.
And just school activities and whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so what happened after? Where'd you work after the Cafe Garden and the Y?
Subway.
Oh, Eat Fresh.
I was a sandwich artist, was my title. Mm-hmm. And my best friend cousin Cheryl and I worked there together, and that was a blast. And yeah, learned. So between Cafe Garden and Subway, really kind of learned, you know, how to work in a kitchen. Mm-hmm. So yeah, thankful for those opportunities. And that's actually the jobs that I had before I left for school, unless you want to count like, you know, odd jobs for like neighbors or, you know, things like that, babysitting, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to college, I found a job opportunity for a caregiver, which I was like, I haven't done this job professionally, but my mom was a nurse and had an in-home care business where we would have one elderly person at a time that would live in with us, and we'd take care of them, very hands-on. And so I would just, by nature of being there with my mom, you know, wind up helping to take care of B or Katie or Wilma. And so, yeah.
Your summer job.
Yeah. I basically had experience, just not paid. And so I got that job and did that for the whole time we were in Bellingham. So 9 years.
Almost 10 years, right?
Almost 10 years. Oh, actually, no.
I think it was 10 years.
I take that back, because I did do it almost the whole time I was in Bellingham, and then I kept it when we moved. I took jobs when we had a little stint in Everett, and then I had clients in Redmond, Kirkland area as well. Yeah. And I did that really until I was getting close to the end of my master's degree program, and I was like, I need to make this switch at some point. I'm going to have to cut the cord and leave this field. You know, so that was an interesting time, because that was like all I knew for so long. But
it did work out really well though with going to school, because you could have like little shifts here and there in between classes and schoolwork and stuff.
Yeah, you could get your, you know, full-time hours in as you could around your schedule. And because a lot of people can only work part-time when they're going to school. I still worked full-time as whenever I could, and based on the hours that were available, right? So there's not always clients to fill your schedule, but the demand is there. So it was really just odd waves of, you know, what the staffing need was if I wasn't able to get full-time. But if I was wanting full-time, I could pretty much get full-time. So yeah, it was perfect. And I think I counted them one time, like people that I could remember off the top of my head, and I had like 100 clients, I'm sure, over the time. Yeah, so that's a really big part of my background is taking care of folks who are older adults with disabilities. Older adults and adults with disabilities. So I think my youngest client was probably early 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say you got, I feel like, but I don't want to put words into your experience, but would you say that doing the caregiving job was pretty fulfilling?
Hell yes.
For you?
Yeah. It was an incredible experience. Just, you know, helping people to do things that they literally can't do on their own anymore. And if you didn't have that kind of care, that you would have to, you know, go live in an assisted living home or something. And people want to stay where they're at in their own home as much as they can, as long as they can. And that's where caregiving, home care assistance comes in. And super rewarding, and met a lot of really great people. You know, some people kind of feel like family for sure. And there was also the challenging ones that for many reasons were just not pleasant to be around, or were, you know, a little more demanding than what your job should be, or had mental health issues or other issues that just pain issues. Actually, a lot of people were grumpy because they were in pain, chronic pain. And so lots of challenges as well. And that's what that kind of caring field goes through, though. And death and loss, grief and loss, you know. I didn't really have hospice clients, but there was one. I think my agency really didn't do hospice, but somehow or another we did wind up with a hospice patient, a couple. I had two, actually, but I was there for the last breath of this one lady after I probably was only there 2-3 weeks. But
I remember that. I feel like you had to like sign up, or like say you would take hospice clients in order to get like assigned one. I feel like I remember something like that happening, and you were like, I told them I would take a hospice client. And I think maybe it was even, you were trying to get more hours. I'm not sure, but
could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. Yeah. Cause I said there was sometimes that hours were a little harder to come by just based on your availability and what you're willing to do, how far you're willing to go. You know, you're able to set some of those parameters. So for a while I was working with people who smoked in their homes because I was a little bit concerned about like having hours if I didn't do that. But I realized, then I went into community health and I learned about secondhand smoke and how impactful it is on your body. So I was like, no, I'm not going to be doing this anymore. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm sure there's other people who will still serve these clients. That was another concern I had is, well, somebody's got to serve them, you know?
Yeah.
But finally I said, no, I won't work with people who smoke. And I still, you know, it just depends on the season, depends on the staffing, depends on the client pool. So, but generally, yes, in demand and get good hours.
Yeah. And I would say you were like, I mean, obviously you're a warm presence to these people too, but a lot of times too, you were like another companion, like another friend.
Yeah.
And some of them really like started making you like a part of their everyday, their family and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And
one client you got to play Yahtzee with.
Oh my gosh.
That's where
a lot of Yahtzee.
That's where you taught me where you can play the whole card, which I think is, if you have time for it, I love doing it that way.
Yeah, playing the whole card at once. So like you don't just have to go down column 1 and complete it before you're going to column 2. Yeah, one of my clients taught me that you could just play the whole board. And that was like a game changer, literally.
That's funny.
And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, well. Yeah, no, never mind. Oh, no, what it is that because I was good at caregiving. Like,
you're great.
You know, low key,
you're phenomenal.
Humble brag. I was pretty good at caregiving. And so I didn't have some problems that other people had as caregivers trying to get shifts and maintain clients and stuff. Is not everybody is as kind and caring. Not everybody is as flexible. Not everybody is as committed to, you know, show up every day and, you know, not call out and do the right thing. Like sometimes it was literally like people are in the caregiving business for the wrong reasons. Like, I don't know what reasons they're there for because it's not, you know, super high pay, but maybe they don't know any better. But like some people would just not treat people well. And so, of course, some clients are, you know, if they have the self-advocacy skills, hopefully they say, I don't want that person. I found out that they did this or did that, you know? And so it's a very rewarding job for people who are the right kind of person to be there, you know? But if you're not patient, if you're not trying to be there to literally make a difference in someone's day, to make it so that they can maintain in their home with dignity, then you really shouldn't be there. You know, if you're just there to make a paycheck.
Did you ever have to report any of your coworkers?
I think I might have a time or two, just based on like stories I heard, if it sounded like, you know, elder abuse, or it sounded like at all like a risk of
integrity
it could be
problems.
Yeah. I pass that along to the supervisor, but because you got to be there for the best interest of the client. So if you come up with information that says otherwise, like, that needs to be addressed. I remember one time I don't remember if I had to report to Adult Protection Services or if my supervisor did, but one lady's son was stealing her pain patches from her.
Oh, I think I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's probably a common issue. Or more common than we would think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the things that we address in the prevention world.
I should ask you. You would know.
Safe medication disposal, safe medication storage, because older folks, you know, or just folks who have like had surgeries and whatever, and they wind up with pain pills, and then they don't use them all. If they just stick them in the medicine cabinet, like, that's an easy target for somebody to come in and take those pills. So, you know, we sometimes will pay for and give out like prescription lock boxes, for example, or like there's a product called Deterra that actually, neutralizes the drug. So you actually just put the oxycodone or whatever the opioid medication is in this bag and shake it up, and it'll deactivate it.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a number of ways that we can like kind of prevent access, like inappropriate access to them, after folks have them and don't need them or want them anymore. Taking them back to the pharmacy or to the police station, you know? So, yeah. So it is pretty common because we address it through our prevention efforts.
This is slightly off topic, but it reminded me of something that a chimney cake customer told me, because they have a son that is severely allergic to peanuts. And we were talking about that a little bit, but they told me that they're working on a dissolvable, is that the right word?
Sure. I like it.
Thing that goes in your mouth to treat anaphylaxis.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, whoa, that would be a total game changer.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I had a really hard time doing the pen the first time, like having to
jab him.
Yeah. Stab your kid with a EpiPen.
Yeah.
And, I'm
picturing that scene from Horrible Bosses.
Now I am too. And they're like, he's stabbing Harkin. Oh man.
Whereas they wanted to kill him, but now he's saving his life with an EpiPen, and it looks like he's killing him.
Oh my gosh. If you're over 18 and you like a good comedy and haven't seen Horrible Bosses, you must. Don't walk. Run to the nearest television that has Horrible Bosses streaming. I wanted to say like Blockbuster, but I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Redbox it's probably not there either. You know what?
Redbox is almost a thing of the past too, I feel like, but they are still around.
I'm just totally dating this, like my existence right now. So,
well, we did just do that TikTok 90s, grown up in the 90s, put on a finger for everything that you've done or whatever.
What was it?
Blockbuster was on there. If you had a Blockbuster membership.
We actually were Hollywood Video people, but that may have been, I don't know if that was a preference, because Marysville had a Blockbuster and a Hollywood Video, but the Hollywood Video may have shown up first, which might be why we had it, you know, or maybe it was closer to us. I'm not really sure. But I did prefer Hollywood Video over Blockbuster.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, we would go every Friday, and my mom would let us all pick out a movie for the weekend. And then we would come home Friday nights and make a bed in the living room.
Oh.
And we would watch TGIF on TV, and then someone's movie after that, and then like you'd have your movie to watch for the weekend, and we would watch everyone's movie over the weekend.
Would you always get through everyone's movies, or would you have to end up returning some movies without watching them?
Sometimes, like Fair and Wesley were pretty little, so sometimes we wouldn't watch their movies and like as a family, and then they would just watch them like, you know, as little kids, they're just like watching in the morning or whatever. They would sometimes watch them like multiple times over the weekend. They would get like Baby Geniuses all the time. That was one that they always got. And especially if it was like the 5th time they were renting it, we're like, we're not watching that again. But yeah, those were really fun times.
See, because I remember, I think it was more so in the days of being in Bellingham, and there was Crazy Mike's video.
That place was cool.
It was really cool. And I feel like you would have to be more selective than you wanted to be when you're picking out your movies, because you want to watch 5 movies, but the return time frame is whatever it is. And you feasibly, can you really get all 5 movies in? And you don't want to like pay for them and then have to return them without watching. So
they had a really good deal though on like Tuesdays or something.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like $2 or something for like a 5-day movie rental?
And how freaking smart is it to have a what was that pizza place we were just talking about?
Oh,
pizza.
Oh my God.
Little Caesars.
Yeah.
They had a Little Caesars right next door. Pizza and a movie. Heck yeah.
Yeah. And you could go get pizza and a movie if you went on a Tuesday for $7. You get a hot and ready and a movie and be set for the whole weekend.
$5 hot and ready. Oh, for the whole week. Me back.
Yeah. Dude, there was also, talking about taking you back, there was once upon a time, I don't know if it was select locations, but where you could get a Hawaiian hot and ready. And you know,
and those
that's
were good Hawaiians. They had the ham was like, it wasn't like Canadian bacon. Yeah, it was like a julienne cut. So it was like a nice little chunk of meat. The freaking
best.
That was a good one.
I love Hawaiian pizza. Yes, I do love pineapple on my pizza, listeners. Make no mistake about it. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. But I do.
I do too. And who was I just talking to where they were like so judging me for that question?
Who knows? It's pretty... it's pretty divided when you start to talk to people. It's like a lot of and there's no really like in the middle people. It's like either it does not belong or I love it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who are in the middle. If there are listeners out there that are like, I could take it or leave it, let me know because I'm really interested.
My little sister of Big Brothers Big Sisters, I'm a volunteer with them. She just told me that yesterday because I said the exact same thing.
That she loves it?
Is that people usually either love it or hate it. And she goes, I like it. Okay. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Like she's kind of in the middle ground.
Okay. That's cute. Yeah. Well, there's one right there that I already know of.
Yeah.
Although I feel like with kids, it's kind of, I don't know. Their taste buds are going to change.
Yeah. And they don't usually have the strongest opinions, like in terms of food. I mean, maybe it's like, yeah, I don't like broccoli, but you know, your parents make you eat it anyway.
Or she's just like, it's pizza. Like, I don't care what that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting pizza.
Yeah. I say that knowing that a lot of kids are really particular though, and like straight up will not eat something, but you know, there's all kinds.
That's honestly how I am with pizza toppings, as long as it's not pepperoni, because pepperoni sometimes tastes like, well, first off, it's like really oily sometimes, but then I don't really know what it is about pepperoni, but like all kinds of pepperoni and like salami and stuff, it has like this, I don't even know, but it has this taste that I don't love. So it's probably a part of like the curing of the meat stick or whatever.
Yeah, maybe the processing, because I was going to say maybe the fat content, but that would not hold true for like, you know, you don't seem to mind like sausage as a topping, which is higher fat, or like beef.
Sausage is also not one of my faves, just in general.
But do you have the same issue with
sausage, though?
Yum.
Yeah.
Very yum. There's something special about
no, I don't have the same issue with it. It just, actually, my issue with sausage is like the, did you wheeze?
I did just wheeze.
is it like fennel or something that is normally in sausage?
Mm-hmm.
I don't love that.
I don't like that it's sticky. Like it's a little stick of it. Whose throat was that?
It's mine. What's happening?
We're talking about food. You didn't really eat lunch.
What is sticky
Like there's
about
a little
sausage?
stick. No, there's a little stick
in the fennel.
of fennel.
Yeah. That's the I think that's when they use dried fennel because it's like a little, kind of like thyme almost. But anyway,
a couple other jobs to wrap up that.
I really feel like
one.
we digressed.
Oh
yeah. Where were we?
Well, my long career, or with caregiving.
Your career timeline.
While I was doing that, I also worked at Gold's Gym as a front desk attendant.
Yeah.
That was a really fun job, and I also worked. And that job again, more of like it wasn't in a kitchen setting, but it was about like, keeping everything really clean and keeping everything really stocked. And so some of the things that are coming back
Gold's
to
Gym?
us at
that
are coming back to us at Chimney Cakes, like. I learned these things at Gold's Gym too, because there was kind of a lot of downtime, like when you're not greeting members or checking the bathrooms or whatever, picking up weights. It's like there's a bit of downtime, so always cleaning stuff up. And one of I told you the other day, it was one of my clients that taught me the phrase, "If you got time to lean, you got time to clean."
Mm-hmm.
And so just some of these things like from my previous work stuff that is coming back at Chimney Cakes. But
did they teach you that because you were leaning, or
no?
Did they teach you that because you were cleaning?
No, just because we would be talking about like the work that they used to do, and they had done like some catering stuff and like event planning, like for weddings and things. And so they just were they were talking about like how that went and like the work ethic and things like that. And so that's just an example phrase that they would use when reflecting back on their work.
We don't lean at Chimney Cakes.
And then another job during that time frame was an athletic coordinator for the Boys and Girls Club. So that was cool. So
remember you did that.
It actually made me want to get in to be an athletic director at one point.
Did a little reffing.
Yep. Well, so my job was to coordinate the schedules, make sure we had volunteers for coaches, make sure we had referees and umpires, open the facilities, close the facilities. Those are the main duties. And so if I didn't have a referee for a game, I had to cover it. So
you were a good ref though.
Oh, that was another job I had. I was signed up with the Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association. Is that what it is? WIAA. I worked for them for a short time reffing basketball. So yeah,
you did miss a job, a pretty noteworthy job anyway, in terms of how it relates to me, because you were I don't remember the title, but when you worked at Marysville Getchell.
Oh, well, I haven't gotten there yet because this was still in Bellingham.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler alert.
I know. Push it along. Okay. So then so those were my jobs there. And then when we moved, I continued caregiving, like I said. And then when I left caregiving, it was for an internship in prevention at the state of Washington. And I worked with, it was in grants management, but more like supporting tribal communities for their prevention work.
That was before
Yes. Before Getchell, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because then I finished that internship, I graduated, and I applied for my first big girl job outside of college, which was actually my employer was Educational Service District, Northwest 189. And see how my brain works? It's like I have to complete
so technical
the thing. But they so the Educational Service District, they cover, the region, and then they have the ability to place their staff at different schools based on the need. And so I worked under a grant called Project Aware, and they placed me at Marysville Getchell High School to do prevention work there. So I was like doing prevention education in the health classes. I was doing like small group sessions for kids who had a certain risk factors for substance use, and then also did one-on-one support.
Yeah.
And ran a prevention club.
And you had like an office that kids could come and stop by if they needed.
Yeah. Drop-ins. Yeah. And was part of the coalition. I don't remember what the coalition was called. Maybe like the Marysville Coalition, Marysville People Coalition, something like that. And that was a really fun job. It was also a very difficult job.
Yes.
And that is, again, one of those caring professions, because you're talking with high schoolers, rough time in life for many, about really serious things, mental health, substance use, whatever. And so that's where it was like really rewarding when you would really know that you like connected with a kid or helped a kid out that day, got them into resources, got them into treatment, connected them with a case manager, things like that. Made a safety plan because they were having suicidal ideation, things like that. Really were rewarding, but also the same challenge. You know, I just had one time, Schmolka actually, so let me back up a little bit. One of the really fun things about working at Getchell was that Chelsea went to school in Marysville. And when she went to school in Marysville, there was only one high school, Marysville Pilchuck. And after she graduated, it split into two schools. Well, they needed staff for both schools. So some of those Marysville Pilchuck people folks, coaches, teachers, you know, admin folks, they wound up at Getchell. Mm-hmm. And so one of them was like Chelsea's second family.
Honestly, most of who I was closest with ended up at Getchell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty, when you ended up there, that was just, I just can't believe how the stars aligned with that, honestly. Yeah. That was just, or how it kind of came full circle. It
was an incredible situation for that to fall in place for me, and also for you though, because then like for you, how cool it must have been like for your wife to get to know some of these like, you know, key people in your former life. So
tell the Lagore story, because that's like my favorite.
Oh,
it's just so funny.
When I met Mrs. Lagore, somebody, I think it was Mrs. Cole, introduced me to Mrs. Lagore, or it might have even been Schmolka.
Yeah.
But and she said, "Oh, yeah, this is Emma. She's working here now. This is Chelsea Bradley's wife." And Mrs. Lagore goes, "Ooh, you have good taste."
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
You got just welcomed with very open arms.
Oh,
and that probably really helped with you just in your employment there.
I'm telling you, it wasn't just one or two people. It was like 5 to 10 people that I had ins with because of them knowing you. Mm-hmm. And Schmolka was obviously the biggest one. So Schmolka was Chelsea's teacher and coach in high school. And say a little more.
Still like, basically, so I first met her husband when I was playing basketball. And then he kind of, I don't want to say recruited, but kind of recruited me to run cross country. I told him if he was the coach, then like because he wasn't the coach and he was like applying to be the coach. And I said, if you become the coach, then I'll come run for you. And he did. But don't regret that decision at all. But anyway, and then I just got really close with their family. And, you know, I had Mr. Edens as my coach for cross country and Mrs. Edens as my coach for track. So I was around them a lot. And then when I first started being around them, they had a little one, Carter. He was a year and a half, I think. And just bonded with him as I do with lots of kids. And just kept growing close. I think it's just interesting, like how kind of the stars kind of align and how it's like meant to be sort of thing, because I was also a sprinter and Schmolk coached the sprints Like I could have been anything else in track, but you know, and then that was just interesting overall too, that I ran cross country in the fall and sprinted in the spring, that I was like kind of a versatile athlete like that, where I could do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, got close with them. I was always like hanging out in their classrooms, and there was a pretty long time where I'd go after school, in between school and track, and pick up the little ones at their daycare with Schmolk, like every day.
Yeah.
So we'd just be chatting, you know, and then just be hanging out with the kids until practice. And then after college or after high school, it obviously like gradually just kept gradually like, well, I don't have words right now.
You'd be there for family dinner.
Yeah, but my presence with them would be like gradually lessening because, you know, we went to college. So I moved out of town, and obviously busy with college life, and then moved to another town, and then moving to another state. And so I see them less and less, but we still keep in touch. And I always make a point to go there like when we're back.
And you just went there and visited specifically to see Schmolk.
Yeah.
In January or February.
Yeah. So yeah, still very close. And I mean, literally just they're like a second family, and played a really, really key role in my life. And as the palm reader said, I would label Schmolk as one of my helpers in my path in my adolescence. So
for sure.
Yeah.
And then for me to be able to work on the same campus with her, like that was so cool. Like I had already met her before. We'd hung out with her and the kids and whatever. But it was like, hey, we're coworkers now. Yeah. And then, you know, it would be like from, hey, I need to recruit students. I need to do this outreach, and I'm supposed to meet so many numbers for, you know, these groups and whatnot. And I need for the prevention club, like I just need to do outreach. And so she'd let me come talk to her class whenever I wanted. And, then we would be like exchanging lunches. Like she'd make dinner and I'd make dinner, and we'd bring leftovers for each other and swap. We'd have lunch. Oh my God. It was one of the best things ever. She's such a good cook.
She cooks the best stuff.
I'm like, is this really a fair trade? Like, let me make sure this is like Schmolka worthy before I bring it.
Yeah.
She always have a great lunch.
She always says, if you guys come visit, I'll cook for you. It's like her first thing she says.
Yeah. And then,
probably was also honestly like such a good thing for the school, because like if somebody that no one knew went into that position, like how many fewer conversations there probably would have been, or like even who wouldn't have even known who you were or who that person was in that position.
And people can be, you know, territorial over their like instruction time or over who they connect with, who they send kids to. And so I really had a leg up. And that's probably part of the reason I got the job, honestly. It was because I was like, I already have connections in this school. It'll be a seamless, like collaboration, a lot of cohesion, you know? And so, I mean, it was Schmolka, it was Mrs. Gramboys, Mr. Gramboys, Mrs. Cole,
Lagore.
Yeah. Lagore helped me out a lot. And Nemra.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's 6
I forgot
or
about
7.
Nemra,
Yeah. And so I went into each of their classrooms, maybe not Mr. Gramboys, but you know, I would go into their classrooms and do the outreach. It was Mrs. Cole's class I did education in. Gramboys. There was one kid I was working with that the best class to pull her from was weightlifting with Mr. Gramboys, because her other grades weren't so good. And so, you know, even being able to pull kids out of these people's classes, they're a little bit more supportive, you know, because they just know, you know, these connections. And I do, you know, they don't just be like, oh, well, you're Chelsea's wife. Okay, do whatever. But they know too, like I've explained to them what the program is and why, you know, you can't talk to them about why you need to meet with this particular kid. But if you're explaining the program well and you're doing your outreach and you're, working with the teachers, it's, you build a lot of trust and collaboration. And so I probably would have spent all year doing that at Getchell had it not been for those existing.
That's exactly what I was kind of getting at. Like, you were able to they were able to be like, oh, Emma, and get to know you real quick through a mutual person. And then they wanted to know about you. So then you're like, here's what I'm doing here. And then all of a sudden, boom, like you've taken care of all the like intro stuff.
Yeah. And so, for example, one time, this kid, well, she wasn't a kid, she was a senior, was sitting in the middle of the driveway where the buses come in and was just like crouched down and like rocking back and forth. And I think Schmolk saw her out her window.
Oh.
And excuse me? Rewind. This is not a good time, Charles. Not good timing.
You do not know.
To growl in the microphone.
I do not know. I do not know where that freaking bass came from.
Wow.
Wow.
So
bring us down a whole octave.
That's the Elf movie.
Yes. Please continue.
Okay. So back to this terrible story.
Yes.
Yeah, Schmolk saw her out her window and like went and checked on her and was like, obviously she was not okay. Mm-hmm. And Schmolk didn't know what else to do other than bring her to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember, she was calling me on my cell. I think she must have. She texted me, called me or whatever. Cause I remember I wasn't in my office at the time. I was at the admin desk, and I was like, yeah, bring her over. And sure enough, like this kid was sitting there in the driveway for the buses in hopes to get hit by a bus because she was feeling suicidal. And so we had a whole intervention. We had to bring in the necessary folks, and it wasn't a situation where Emma is the best person to serve this kid, but I was the right person. I was a fine, like first contact, because what you do from there is that was already the assessment that I needed. You know, I didn't have to go through the questionnaire and whatnot. It was a immediate, need. This person is a danger to themselves. So, they ended up being admitted inpatient mental health, and, I think was discharged a few days later. I think she did get the help that she needed. And, unfortunately that was the end of the school year. So I really didn't get like and she was a senior. So I didn't really get the opportunity to, loop back or get any, further outcome information. But, from everything I could tell, she got connected, she got treated, she got released. She was able to, do like a delayed graduation, and
that's good.
Yeah, hopefully in a better recovery now. But yeah, so I mean, that's the kind of thing. And that was the last job I had before I came to Arizona.
Yeah. And that's what made that job so hard. And because you care so much, and you care so much about the work you're doing. And it was really hard not to bring it home sometimes when big things like that would happen.
Yeah. And that was a big one. That was pretty jarring. But even that, like, there was other situations. I didn't know that kid, Yeah. And there was other kids that I did get to know like throughout the year, and would have a kind of a similar situation, not the same, but, in that kind of place. And that was harder for me because I knew these kids.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I could do that job again, just because that was too emotional for Emma.
Yeah.
Emma takes it home too much. And, the experienced counselors and therapists would talk to me about how, they've learned to, kind of remove themselves from that personal impact. But I don't think I'm built that way.
No,
so
not everyone is.
Yeah. So I would maybe like to do direct services again at some point, or maybe somewhere in the middle, maybe closer to the program level, like a program director or something. But
what do I always say that you'd be perfect at? Which Avery helped me get there. Shout out Avery. Something like, because right now you're in grants, and this is the way the layperson describes it, is you get to, not get to, you're responsible for managing the grant that like the program or the treatment services have, so the money they have, and if they're spending it the way they've documented that they're spending it, or the way that's approved that they spend it, right? And so I feel like, from what I know about you and just your personality, but also your expertise in this field, I can just totally see you shining where you're on the other side, where you're receiving the grant and being like, okay, where can I use this money directly with my program or my facility or whatever?
Yeah. And that's one of the roles that could do that kind of work as a program director. So we're kind of on the same page with that. I mean, because you can be a grant writer, like you can apply for grants, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily get to implement them. So a program director, though, can really help with identifying what grants to apply for, applying for grants. And I say grants, but really just identifying funding opportunities. But and they also, you know, have a say in hiring and which programs to implement, you know, doing the needs assessment, doing the kind of data collection and analysis, and then the strategic planning. Like they're in all that, and they could very well be supporting the people who are implementing the programs. So that's kind of like my job when I was at the ESD at Getchell. She was kind of like a program, I think her title was a program manager, but like program manager, director, it really is just going to depend what organization you're with and like what kind of staffing they have, but you may do similar type of roles.
Yeah, because you were on a grant funded position. Yeah.
Yep.
If you had to pinpoint a defining moment for like what made you go into the public health or community health field, what would it be?
Yeah, anytime I think of that, I think of this one particular client that I had who seemed to be like poor and on disability like a lot of her life. Like, well, too soon anyway.
Oh,
maybe not, you know, so much of her life, like, because, you know, my 30-some-year-old that I was working with. But yeah, she was like, she had been having physical struggles for such a long time and financial struggles for such a long time. And I just saw that certain health outcomes were preventable, you know. And
do you have an example of one? Like
health outcome?
Yeah, that you thought that like in this moment that you're
type
thinking
2 diabetes
is preventable. Oh, that very preventable.
So type 2 diabetes is one of the many conditions that this client had. And this was someone that I worked with for years. She eventually she wasn't bedbound, but we had to use what's called a Hoyer lift to get her out of bed. So she could not really stand up on her own. And she couldn't turn over on her own in bed. There was a lot of stuff she couldn't do on her own, and that's why I was there. So long story short, she and I, you know, she and I were pretty tight. I worked with her for a long time. It's one of my mainstay clients. And I did work with her through the end of her life because of these health conditions, obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart problems. And when you have all that, then you get like circulation problems and you get bed sores and you get, you know, just sores on your feet and stuff. And what actually took her out was a kidney issue, which is also complicated by diabetes. And so, yeah, I just thought there's ways that some of these sufferings are preventable. And so I wanted to go to school to do chronic disease prevention, basically. But there are like roles in community health and public health where you do chronic disease prevention. But in terms of type 2 diabetes, most of the credentials for those types of prevention jobs are nursing positions or dietary positions. And so like some of my old classmates are working in like cancer prevention. That's a big one. But yeah, so I kind of chose the route of substance use work. And again, it started with substance use prevention, and now I've just kind of gotten a couple promotions that put me over the treatment work too. So it was that moment, I think, of just kind of looking at this lady's life and health and honestly the resultant poor quality of life.
Yeah.
And it was really that I thought, if we can reduce suffering in life by reducing health problems in the first place, then that's what we should do.
And improving quality of life.
Yeah. Improving quality of life, because all these issues that she was facing, again, low income, so you don't have a lot of means financially to get out of that space. And you also become isolated. It was really sad when people stopped coming around to visit, and just really sad.
Yeah. But that's a great answer. And it's, something that has, I'm sure, kept you driven in this field. And I think it's honestly perfect for you.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of cool how like that's how my previous job as a caregiver led to my current job as a grants administrator for the state, but and really kicked off like my transition from these other types of jobs to career jobs. Not to say you can't make a career out of home care assisting. Of course you can. And a lot of people do, but there isn't a lot of room for advancement, especially in terms of pay. Like I wanted to move up in that field, but like the supervisor pay was like $2 more per hour, maybe. So you're still talking less than $20 an hour. And it didn't feel like the sustainable path for me for what I was trying to do. But yeah, anyway, kind of really cool to me to look back and see how my my caregiving work directly tied into how I wound up going into community health and public health.
Yeah.
It drove me there.
Yeah. If you had, what would be your ideal career like scenario? If you didn't we're not talking about pay. We're not talking about like none of those factors are a problem. Just like, I was going to say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But you hate that question. So
I'm not that much of a planner.
Instead of that, just like, if you think about like the ideal career scenario, what does that look like?
Well, I really think it comes down to like who you're interacting with, who you're serving, and like what kind of work environment, things like that. All of those things are really important. So
what is that for you? Like, what would that look like?
Did I already say the impact?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Because that's why you do what you do, is like what impact you're having, right? So I think, again, just like that chronic disease prevention. So pick a health problem. And ideally for me, I want it to be one of the top health problems, because I want it to be
the most impactful.
Meaningful for the people, meaningful for the numbers, and have the ability to change. So how preventable. So in terms of the health problem, that's kind of, those are the things that I look for, but also interest level. Like, okay, so quality of life impacts. That's part of the reason I'm pretty passionate about substance use work, because once a person is in the deep throes of addiction, like, it's not just a problem for them.
Yeah.
It's a problem for everyone around them. And so
And
people really suffer because of their loved ones' addictions.
Yeah. And it can be cyclical, and it can be like the long-term effects.
Generational.
Yeah.
Yes. So you prevent substance use, you prevent trauma.
Yeah.
You prevent trauma, you prevent a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, so in terms of the health problem, like that's the kind of things I would look for. So to make sure that I feel like, I'm in a right path topic wise, but then also kind of like we were just saying, like I really enjoy the personal impact. So right now at the state, I don't see that a lot. So you know what I did?
You're a little removed.
I changed the reporting templates to include, you got to tell me success stories in your work.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. So now we are getting success stories back. So at least every quarter, I'm getting some kind of light, about this is a person we impacted and this is how.
Yeah. But that's also probably really good for data, like period.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm already sharing it around to like our partners in housing, our partners in the justice space, our funders at SAMHSA. And yeah, they're loving it. So anyway, but I would like to be like in a position where I can feasibly step through the door and meet the people that we're serving, Yeah. And at the same time, utilize the skills that I've gained through my education and through my current role or recent roles to put the resources in the right place. So like I was saying before, like do the needs assessments, do the planning, do the funding procurement, do the hiring, all of that. So where like not only like I'm not the person going to implement the program, but I am the person that takes information from the community and the people and the staff and puts it all together to meet what those needs are.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, being like more like a program director or something. Cause so kind of like, if you think of what my sister does, my sister Trish is an executive director for a family support center. So kind of like that, but not so high.
Yeah. And more like,
I don't want to be writing 30-year budgets for a housing development proposal.
Yeah. And more specific, like if it was program director, you're dealing with that program. She's dealing with lots of, I don't know if you with the
call
whole
them
programs,
enchilada.
Yeah.
She's doing the whole agency.
Lots of things under that umbrella.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much. Does that answer the question?
It totally does.
Nice.
And I can't wait to just witness the whole thing. Okay. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. I'm not going to ask you the questions that I already asked you, but I think I asked you plenty.
Great questions today.
Thank you. And apparently I'm still phlegm city over here.
Yeah. You just said that you were 100% over all that.
Well, I didn't actually use those words. I didn't say 100%. I said I'm basically
You're really into telling me that you didn't say those words lately.
I said wow. Good thing we're almost out of time. I said I'm basically over completely. I think I said I'm basically completely over it, which I remember thinking that didn't even make sense. But yeah, still phlegmy, whatever. But I did just drink coffee, and there's like milk in there, and that kind of gets you a little like phlegm wadded up.
Oh my God.
You got a story about a phlegm wad?
My brother Josh, who comes up with all the fun nicknames.
Did he call you
Phlegmo Wada? You never heard that one?
No. But my favorite is still Emma Dilemma.
Yeah. Who called me that the other day? My dad called and left a voicemail, said Emma Dilemma.
That was so cute. I was like, oh my gosh, your dad just called you that. Which actually we had a great conversation today. And no regrets, not even a single letter, but I did want to ask you about what it was like living on the 40 and growing up with 7 siblings, because that is a topic.
Let's go. Next time.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Buy me soda. And I also just realized, look at this. If you scoot a little closer, we could be giving each other foot rubs while we're...
Oh my God.
Yeah. So also next time.
Actually, can we fit those massages into our day today?
Yeah, why not?
Nice.
Okay, cool. We're going to go then.
Gotta go.
But no, thank you for being here again. Miss you already.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. And just, as always, want to thank my lifetime sponsor, my mother. If you want more from me other than just this lovely podcast, check out my website at chelseabcoaching.com. I am on Instagram and Facebook as well. Instagram is at Chelsea B Coaching. Facebook, my business page is Prioritize You LLC. That's prioritize with a Z.
For the Australian or Canadian listeners.
True. Yeah. Or the UK listeners. I don't know if that's true, but
probably is, since those are like British arms.
That's kind of why I said that,
if you will.
Whatever. If you see me in public, say hi. If you have any feedback, please reach out. I plan on sharing a lot of feedback I've been getting on a future episode. So just stay tuned for that. But yeah, rate the podcast, leave a comment, share an episode with somebody, point them in my direction if you think that they would also love this. And lastly, if you'd like to sponsor an episode, go to buymeacoffee.com/my wife's unavailable. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Ding, ding.
Bye-bye.
Bye.